I sat across from them in that stale little conference room, pretending like I didn't already know something bad was coming. You could smell it, that weird corporate air, too much carpet cleaner, and fear. The lights hummed, Keurig in the corner, one dying ficus leaning like it wanted to quit too. Janet from HR sat with her big-ass glasses and a file folder, like she was about to tell me I'd won a damn cruise. "Rick," she said, way too soft, "we've completed the compensation realignment review." I knew that phrase. I'd seen it float through the company's Slack like a ghost. But I didn't expect what came next. "Your new compensation package will be $62,000 annually." I stared at her, then at Gary, my new division head from Daxon, who couldn't tell a router from a coffee mug. He didn't even look up, just scribbled in a notebook like this was routine. I did the math in my head, from 147 down to 62. That's a 58% pay cut, and not a single damn explanation. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I could feel heat rising in my neck, but I didn't give them the satisfaction. I just nodded once, said, "I'll think it over," like they were offering me ham or turkey, not cutting the floor out from under my life. Janet smiled like I'd just agreed to cake. She slid the folder across the table. "It's effective immediately." Effective immediately. Same hours, same responsibilities, same deadlines, less than half the money. I didn't speak again, didn't cuss, didn't throw a chair like I wanted to. Just stood, grabbed the folder, and walked out of that room like I wasn't mentally spiraling. The second those glass doors shut behind me, my hands started shaking. I walked to my truck on autopilot, climbed in, and just sat there. No music, no calls, nothing. The steering wheel felt like ice. My mouth was dry as sandpaper. I kept thinking, mortgage, groceries, child support, baseball cleats, field trip forms, Christmas. What the hell do I tell my kids? I sat there for damn near an hour trying to breathe, staring at my own dashboard like it might show me a path forward. Then I started the engine. I drove straight home and parked in the driveway without getting out. Just sat there, engine off, watching the porch light flicker like it might give out too. That job? That was supposed to be the one thing I could count on. I joined Hanford back in 2014. We were 10 people jammed in a shared office space over in Spokane Valley. Crappy carpet, bad coffee, no AC half the year. But we were tight, hungry, everyone pulled weight. Didn't matter your title. Hell, we didn't even use them. Just results. You either got shit done or you didn't. I thrived in that. First year I worked every damn holiday. Slept under my desk during a 3-day server crash. Missed my youngest first school play because the deployment window shifted last minute. Told myself it was temporary. Told my wife the same. It wasn't. By 2019, I was managing 8 major enterprise clients. Over 60% of our service revenue came through my pipeline. I was the guy they called when the client was pissed, when a server fried, or a scope ballooned overnight. I made things work. Always did. Then the divorce hit. She left me for some guy named Corey, who taught Pilates and posted shirtless selfies from Baja. She moved to San Diego and said she needed to breathe. Left me with the house, the boys, the bills, and no idea how I was supposed to juggle it all. My job? It became the anchor. The only thing that made me feel like I wasn't falling apart. In 2021, when Daxon Corp bought us out, they hosted a big all-hands Zoom. "This is about scale and opportunity," their CEO said, grinning like he just cured cancer. What he didn't mention? He'd walk away 6 months later with $4.2 million and a consulting gig in Switzerland. We got a new logo, then came the management bloat. More meetings, more red tape. They made us build weekly slide decks instead of fixing real problems. Layoffs started slow, admins first, then ops, then middle managers, no explanations. Just calendar invites labeled status update. My team dropped from 6 to 2. The work didn't. I was fielding calls at 10 at night, apologizing to clients for bugs I hadn't even been briefed on. I started doing back-end fixes myself, half asleep at 2 a.m., because we didn't have enough dev support. The stress wasn't just bad, it was full-blown overload. I was snapping at my kids for leaving cereal boxes open, falling asleep at red lights. My hands would randomly shake when I typed. But the thing is, loyalty's only useful to the people cashing in on it. When the cuts came, they didn't come for Gary or his little circle of yes-men from Daxon. They came for the ones who'd been grinding. The ones who built the company before it was even worth buying. And I still didn't see it coming, not until Janet handed me that joke of an offer, and I realized they were done pretending I mattered. So I got out of the truck, walked inside, and poured myself a drink. I didn't even finish the drink, just stood there at the sink, staring at my reflection in the microwave door, trying to swallow the panic. Then my phone buzzed. Tanner Blake. Hadn't heard from him since he bailed on Hanford 6 months back. Smart guy. Got out early. I picked up. Tanner. He didn't waste time. Rick, you check LinkedIn lately? I laughed. Man, I've been too busy keeping my head above water. Well, you should. I'm with Stormwell Dynamics now. That caught my attention. Stormwell was the only real threat to Daxon. Bigger budget, smarter leadership, less corporate fluff, more execution. Our execs keep asking about you, Tanner said. They know what you've built. Want to talk? I didn't answer right away. My heart was already pounding, but my voice stayed steady. They know I'm still at Hanford. They know you're the reason Hanford hasn't bled clients since the acquisition. He wasn't blowing smoke, and we both knew it. I'll call you back, I said, and hung up. I walked into my office, shut the door, and pulled out my original Hanford contract from the desk drawer. I read every damn line twice. No non-compete. No NDA that covered future employment. We never had to sign one. Hanford used to be about trust. That was their mistake. I opened my laptop. Not to download anything. I didn't need to. The information was already in my head. Years of notes, relationship quirks, contract patterns, client frustrations no spreadsheet could show. I knew when Lumicore's CIO's kid had surgery. I knew Kentrotech was about to renew, but was pissed about billing. I knew the back-channel politics at Grayson Global, like I'd written them. That wasn't stolen data. That was earned trust. I called Tanner back. Set the meeting, I said. First thing tomorrow. He didn't even try to hide the smile in his voice. You got it. 8 a.m., Denny's on 5th. Not some slick boardroom, a diner. That's how you know it's serious. After the call, I sat there in the dark for a while, fingers laced behind my head, heart pounding like a jackhammer. They thought they could gut me, and I just thanked them. Take it like a man. Nod politely and fade into the background while they built their offshore transition. They forgot who answered the phone at midnight when no one else would. They forgot what I'd already survived. I closed the laptop, walked down the hall, and peeked into the boys' room. Both were asleep, Liam half off the bed, Max wrapped up in his blanket like a burrito. I stood there a second, letting it sink in. This wasn't about ego. This was about them. I had two choices. Keep getting kicked in the teeth, or remind them who the hell I was. I turned out the light, walked back to my office, and packed a folder with everything I needed to walk into that diner swinging. The next morning, I pulled into the Denny's parking lot 10 minutes early. Didn't even bother dressing up. Jeans, boots, black polo. If this was a real conversation, I wasn't showing up like I had something to prove. Cameron Stroud was already inside. Booth by the window, no suit, just rolled sleeves and a black watch that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He looked up, nodded once, and slid a coffee across the table before I even sat down. You drink it black, right? Yeah, I said. Thanks. No small talk, no fake smiles. Just two men staring across laminate with too much history behind their eyes. I got right to it. Daxon bought us, gutted the company, slapped 2 more layers of bloat on top, and called it progress. I took the hits, cleaned up their messes, kept our biggest clients happy. He didn't flinch, just nodded once, like he'd heard worse. Probably had. They said it was a realignment, I added. But what it really was? A message, And what message was that? He asked. That I'm disposable. That they think I'll take scraps because I've got mouths to feed. Cameron leaned back, arms folded. We've tried to hire you twice before. You said no, both times. I was loyal. Yeah, he said, eyes sharp. And where did that get you? I didn't answer. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folder, slid it across the table without a word. I opened it. 178 base, bonus structure, full health coverage, dental, vision, stock options, real money, real future, immediate start. I kept my hands on the folder, but didn't close it. Why so much? I asked. He leaned in, voice lower now. Because you've retained 94% of your client book over 5 years. That doesn't happen. Not in this industry. Not with what you've been given. I stayed quiet. Let that land. He continued. You were the only reason we haven't flipped 5 of Hanford's biggest accounts. Every time we push, they tell us the same thing. We trust Rick. Then he hit me with it. Word is, Daxon's moving your whole department offshore within the year. They're forcing attrition so they don't have to pay severance. That's salary cut. Step 1. I stared at him, throat dry. That confirmed? I asked. 2 separate sources. We've seen the vendor bids floating around already. That explained everything. I closed the folder, but kept my hand on it. I'll give you my answer by 3 p.m. Cameron nodded, didn't press, just sipped his coffee like we were talking about baseball. But I already knew. That wasn't a job offer. That was a rope thrown into floodwater. I finished my coffee, slid out of the booth, and walked back to my truck. At exactly noon, I walked back through the front doors of Hanford like I owned the place. Badge still worked. Guess no one had flagged me yet. The receptionist gave me a tight smile. Probably already heard something. I didn't stop to chat. Took the elevator to the 4th floor, marched down the hallway, and stepped into conference room B, like I wasn't about to blow it all up. Gary Wallace sat at the head of the table, hair perfect, watch gleaming, like he had somewhere better to be. He looked up from his tablet with that smug little nod, like we were old golf buddies. HR rep Julie was beside him, folder in her lap, eyes locked on the floor. Rick, Gary said, setting the tablet down. We need your answer. I pulled out a chair and sat across from them, calm, controlled. Got a couple questions first. Gary leaned back, annoyed already. This isn't a negotiation. Wasn't planning on one, I said. Who's taking point on the Grayson rollout next month? He blinked. That's not your concern anymore. It is. Clients were told I'd manage it personally. They'll adapt, I smiled. Are you outsourcing the division in 8 months? Julie shifted. Gary didn't answer, so I asked again. You're moving my department overseas, right? Still nothing. Then finally, I don't know what you think you know, Rick. Doesn't matter. I stood, slow and steady, folder still in hand. I'm not accepting the pay cut. I'm resigning. Effective immediately, Gary laughed, short and sharp. You can't just walk out. Sure I can. Section 7B of the original contract. No notice required if there's a major comp change. Like, say, a 58% cut handed to me with a weak cup of coffee. Julie's head shot down to her papers, flipping fast. Her hand was shaking. Gary's jaw tightened. You'll be hearing from our lawyers. For what? Breathing too confidently, I leaned forward, met his eyes. I haven't taken anything that isn't mine. I didn't copy a file, didn't forward a single doc. All I'm walking out with is my reputation. The trust I built with those clients, that's mine, and I'm taking it with me. He tried to speak, but I was already done listening. I turned to Julie. You got a resignation form in that folder? She nodded barely. Slide it over. She did. I signed it, stood up, buttoned my jacket. Gary muttered, You think this is some kind of power move? No, I said, walking to the door. That comes next. And I walked out. Didn't look back. I didn't even make it to lunch the next day before the voicemails started piling up. 11 missed calls. All Hanford. All pissed. First was one of the regional VPs, wanted to clarify the nature of my departure. Second was someone from legal. Third, Gary himself. He didn't leave a message, just hung up after 2 rings. Coward. By mid-afternoon, my personal cell started lighting up with names I knew like Family, Grayson Global, Kentro Tech, Luma Core. All of them confused, all of them annoyed. Rick, we were told you'd still be leading the transition. What happened? Why did we hear this from a junior rep and not you? I let them talk. I let them vent. Then I told them the truth. Short, clean, professional. Hanford made decisions I couldn't stand behind. I left. That's all I can say for now. They got it. You could hear it in their voices. That pause where anger turns into understanding. Then the texts started coming in from my old team. What was left of it? Screenshots, Gary flailing, assigning accounts to staff who barely knew what the software did, telling clients someone would circle back by end of week when they needed solutions yesterday. One of the guys, Jesse, texted, he tried to put Madison on LumaCore. She thought it was a hardware account. I replied, check your inbox in an hour. Stormwell had already lined it up. Offers went out that afternoon to Jesse and another top guy, Devin. Both had kids. Both had bills. Both had been hanging on by a thread just like I had. They accepted before sunset. That night, I got an email from Julie. Subject line, professional courtesy violation. Real bold, considering she wouldn't even look me in the eye the day before. She wrote, it has come to our attention that your exit may not have followed best practice professional norms. We expect better from someone in your former position. I didn't even flinch. Just hit reply, attached a screenshot of Section 7B from my contract, no notice required in the event of major compensation reduction, and copied it to Hanford's HR legal team. Sent done. Crickets ever since. They wanted me to leave quiet. They expected me to bow out, head down, grateful for whatever scraps they tossed my way. Instead, I walked out and lit a match. And now they were watching the whole thing burn. Day 3 at Stormwell, I was finally starting to breathe normal again. Got my key card, laptop, Slack login. Real setup. Not some folding chair and printer corner like I'd had my last 6 months at Hanford. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go, but something told me to answer. Rick Mathers? Yeah, this is Martin Daxon. Just like that. No assistant, no buffer. CEO of the parent company calling me direct. Guy I'd only ever seen in investor videos and photo ops with mayors. Funny thing was, he probably hadn't heard the full story. Guys like him never did until the fallout hit their inbox. He didn't waste time. I've been made aware of the client movement following your departure. There's concern around fallout and rumors of active poaching. I kept my voice calm. I told them I was leaving. They followed me. That's not illegal, that's loyalty. He paused. Gary says, let me stop you there, I said. Gary offered me a 58% pay cut in a windowless room, no severance, no warning. And he conveniently forgot to mention the layoffs planned after Q2. You think that's leadership? Silence. Then, what would it take to bring you back? I laughed. Couldn't help it. You think this is about money? Everything's about money, Rick. Not to me, it's not. This is about respect. Something I gave for 10 years and never got back. He didn't argue, just shifted gears. We'd be willing to match Stormwell's offer. No. We could beat it. Still no. Then what do you want? I leaned back in my chair, feet up on the corner of my new desk, staring out at a skyline that wasn't mine yet, but would be. Here's what I want. Stop treating the people still there like crap. Fire Gary. And stop threatening to sue the guy who just walked away quietly. You're not walking away quietly. No, I said, keeping my tone flat. You made sure of that. There was another pause, longer this time. Then he said, this call didn't happen. Fine by me. He hung up. I set my phone down, cracked my knuckles, and opened my inbox. Time to get back to work. 6 months later, I had a corner office, a real title, Director of Client Integration at Stormwell, and 18 people reporting to me. I still showed up early, still stayed late when it mattered, but now the grind paid off. My boys? They were sleeping easier. So was I. In the first 4 months alone, 5 of my old clients left Hanford. I didn't pitch them, didn't send one sales email. They reached out to me. "Rick, are you still managing accounts? We're not getting answers over there. Can we move everything to your team?" Hanford scrambled, slashed rates, offered stupid deals to keep clients from walking. Didn't matter. Turns out, relationships beat discounts every time. Julie, the HR rep who played blind in that conference room, got moved to another division. Something generic like internal development. Gary resigned, which probably meant he was pushed out after screwing up 3 client handoffs and trying to bluff his way through a software demo he didn't understand. As for Daxon Corp., they shelved the outsourcing plan, quietly, no announcement, but I heard from 2 different managers that the contracts with the offshore vendors just stopped. I even ran into Vernon, my first boss at Hanford, at a trade show in Portland. He spotted me from across the room, cut through a crowd, and pulled me into a hug like we were family. "They did you dirty, Rick," he said. "Glad you landed on your feet." I smiled. I didn't land. I jumped. Real talk. The money's great. So is the freedom. I work remote 3 days a week, pick my own clients, skip the useless meetings. I don't miss the grind, just the part of me that used to think grinding was the only way to be seen. But the real win was saying no. No to being devalued. No to eating shit with a smile. No to giving another year to people who thought I'd never walk. Now I make it to soccer games, help with homework, eat dinner with my kids at an actual table, not the driver's seat. I sleep more than 4 hours a night. I still work hard. That'll never change. But now I do it for people who know what I bring to the table. People who respect it. I used to think loyalty was everything. Turns out, self-respect matters more. And if you're sitting there in a job that's slowly gutting you, thinking you've got no options, hear this. You do. And sometimes, all it takes is one phone call to burn the whole damn cage down.